So in literally 5 days, East versus West, we have Devon Larratt versus Levan Saginashvili 2. This, in comparison to the first time they had competed, is going to be extremely interesting because of what's happened since then compared to now. So in this video, I'm gonna give you guys my full prediction, my honest opinion. This is literally the most anticipated arm wrestling match that we have seen in, honestly, probably forever. Maybe since the first time Devon and Levan have competed, just because of the caliber of this level. We're talking Levan, who is currently at close to 400 pounds, who's obviously extremely strong, versus the new Devon, who is, I mean, it's Devon Larratt. I mean, I think right now he's weighing around 260-ish, give or take. But regardless, anyways, we're gonna get to this whole Devon versus Levan episode right now, and I'm gonna give you guys 5 reasons why I think Levan wins the matchup. So you guys know the drill. Grab a coffee, sit back, relax, enjoy the video, and let's get it. The first reason why I think Devon loses. Now, I do want to state that I'm Canadian. Obviously, for those who know me, I'm Canadian. Devon's Canadian. I have pulled with Devon. Not that I would even come close to beating him, but I pulled with him. I've had a conversation with him. I've talked to him several times. I know who he is, and I love the guy to death. I love what he's done from the sport. I love what he's done for the community, for the world in general when it comes to this sport. But I do not want to be biased, and I want to give my true, honest opinion. And I do think Devon loses. Now, hear me out. Just hear me out, and then you guys can hate me in the comments below. But the first reason why I think Devon loses this, and I think it's the most obvious, it's just strength. Now, we know that when we look at the previous Devon versus now, Devon is obviously leveled up. But when you're talking about raw power, like raw strength, I mean, it's not even comparable. You can obviously go down to these numbers of what is Levan bench pressing, what is Levan bicep curling, and we could just go down that path. And I think it's kind of obvious at this point that we know Levan is on a completely different level. Even when you look at these previous lifts that Devon has been doing with the pronation lift, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Devon was doing somewhere around that 165 pound level, something like that, where the rope comes right off the corner of his knuckles, lifts it up, no issue. Keep in mind though, when he's doing it, Devon, I'm gonna present here, when he's doing it, Devon's arm is essentially just about 90 degrees or just past that 90-degree angle. When you see Levan replicate the exact same thing, not only is the weight considerably higher, I think it was like 170 or 180-ish. Correct me somewhere in the comments if you guys know the exact number, but Levan just lifted it up, and Levan's arm was not 90 degrees or more. It was actually a lot closer. So that kind of indicates to me that the strength is there. And I think that's extremely obvious. And when you're dealing at such a high level, I mean, this applies from an amateur level to, you know, world class. But when you're dealing with someone who is extremely much stronger than you overall, and you both are extremely good at the sport, usually the stronger one tends to win for the most part. So from a strength aspect, I think it is quite obvious, at least in my eyes, that Levan is just, as of right now, there's a reason why he's number one. There's a reason why he's number one. It's gonna be very interesting to see because Devon has obviously gotten much stronger. His lifts have gone through the roof. It's just wild, especially from where Devon's come from. I mean, anyways, that's a whole topic on itself. The second reason why I truly believe that Devon loses is the thing that Devon's actually the best at, and this is endurance. Now, this might come as a surprise because most people would immediately just cut me off and say, look, Devon is obviously the best when it comes to endurance. And I could argue that, but even Devon had recently mentioned in one of his videos that after facing Levan the first time, it didn't really matter that much because Levan was so much stronger that, yeah, you can have obviously extreme endurance, but when it comes to brute strength, are you supposed to try to hold on as long as you can? I mean, it's a broad subject, a broad topic, but realistically what's going to happen in this match is they're both going to grip up, and I don't see it holding on for very long. I see the match being over fairly quickly, so you got to go based off strength on this one. And yes, obviously Devon technically has more endurance, but you also have to think too that based off the last match that Devon and Levan had, I mean, Levan ended up having an oxygen mask on him and was like sitting down for the longest time trying to catch his air. So you'd have to think that Levan has obviously learned from that, and I'm sure he's not working on his endurance, but I think just being aware and understanding, I think it's been worked on a little bit, especially with the training he's been able to do since. The third topic, or the third reason why I think Levan wins, and I think it's just straight back pressure. Now, we don't need to get into the exact numbers of what each person is doing, if it's Devon or Levan, but when you just look at lifts, when you look at the way they're pulling, you don't ever see Levan almost in like a king's move, just trying to lat pull far down. I mean, obviously you're gonna see footage of him on an after pull or at the end of a practice where he's extremely tired like anyone else would be, but you never see him super far out just trying to drag across. Usually Levan, and I know I'm making him sound like Superman here, but every time Levan is pulling, Levan is always in close, Devon is always out far. So what do you think is truly going to happen when the match starts? Most likely, in my opinion, Levan's gonna get the hand, which we're about to get to, and then the match is gonna start and Devon's gonna open right up again. It's gonna be the exact same thing. And then he's gonna try to fight for hand control, fight for the lat drag, but I don't know. I don't know, man. I think Levan's good, and I feel like I'm not giving Devon any credit, but like I mentioned, not being biased, I'm a Canadian, so yeah. I'll be extremely surprised if Devon can rise over Levan, which leads to my fourth point of why Levan wins, and this is literally straightforward hand control. And it kind of relates back to the back pressure. When you look at Levan, who is taking Levan's hand? Who takes his hand and then folds it back? It doesn't happen. It's not happening. Every time you're seeing him pull, obviously we can go at the end of practice, and it's the same thing with Devon. I mean, Devon always looks like he's losing, or he's losing something, but he comes back and wins. But when you're talking about just raw hand control, I mean, you can just see, and there was a video posted recently. I mean, I'm gonna put it up somewhere here, but there's a video posted recently where Devon and Levan are literally gripping up in the vehicle. They're in like a limo or something, and Levan's hand is literally just cupped over and his fingertips are just holding on top of his hand, on top of Devon's hand, and then like Devon's literally just putting back pressure, and he's starting to open up, and you can just tell, even though Devon has some pronation, this is his left hand, not right hand, but even though his pronation is starting to, like, he's trying to engage, he's definitely losing some, so it's going to be wild to see. But hand control is something that I think is going to be extremely important in this match. And even though that it's the left hand with Devon and Levan, you have to think that when it's going to come to the right hand, which they're both more dominant in, if Levan is holding him on the left pretty, I wouldn't say easily. Well, I mean, it seems like that from my point of view, and Devon's looks a lot stronger than he did the first time, it's gonna be a bad night. And this kind of leads into, well, it doesn't really lead into, but my fifth point, and this is kind of maybe a little bit more of a touchy subject. I would say maybe this isn't so much relevant because we can use people like Crazy George, who have done so well for so many years up until their 70s, where they're ranked in the country. But I think this comes down to prime. Now, when you look at age, it's not like Devon is extremely old, but Devon's coming close to 50 years old, and Levan is 35. Now look, Levan does not look 35. Levan literally looks like the Michelin man who took every specimen of product you could imagine, and he just ended up the way he looks. Like, the guy's just a freak of nature. That's probably not the best way of describing him, but 35 versus 48, and Levan is at the top right now. I think it's I don't know. I think age does come into effect here. Yeah, it's gonna be wild. So when you kind of, like, my conclusion on this whole match is, look, I'll give Devon some benefit of the doubt. If we see one stoppage, not a stoppage where it's a millimeter close to the pad and they're both huffing and puffing for air. I'm talking like if we see any stoppage anywhere, I think there is a strong chance Devon can get a couple wins. Unless if you see Devon just stop Levan instantly. But when you look at their weight difference, like Devon's lost weight on this one, but he's also gotten stronger, which is extremely interesting because it's a very interesting dynamic. We know that Devon's been doing stem cells, extremely beneficial. He's poured his life into it with several companies that have been helping him with this. He's been training like a maniac. He's been getting a lot stronger. But I don't know, man. Like, how are you going to beat Levan? Who's going to beat Levan? And I don't see it happening right now. So yeah, I think Levan's just going to be stronger. He's going to have much more endurance. He's going to have much more back pressure. He's going to have the hand control, and he's more in his prime. And you got to think, Levan's on every single thing you can take. Like, this guy is just a specimen of, the guy is a legit walking pharmacy. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that at all. Respect to him for conquering this planet at being so strong at arm wrestling. But I feel like once this match is over, I feel like Devon is going to come out saying, look, I hyped up the match. I was excited for it, but at the end of the day, I just knew this was going to be Mount Everest to climb, and very few people do it. In this case, no one has done it. And I just wanted to promote this really cool moment in arm wrestling history. But at the end of the day, I feel like I knew this wasn't going to be something for myself. Anyway, I don't know what I'm getting to, but I think that Levan wins extremely convincingly. And if there are any stoppages in this fight at all, I feel like Devon has a chance to get a couple rounds. Now, I know there's going to be a bunch of Devon haters. There's going to be friends of mine. There's going to be people I don't know who are going to comment, who are going to come up to me, who are going to tell me how stupid I am. And you know what? I'll be the first to say I'm not the brightest around. But in my opinion, I just think Devon could be doing the most extreme of substances, and I still think he has a long way to go in terms of strength. If we're talking experience, I mean, then we can go down the rabbit hole of Devon has so much more experience than Levan. But at the end of the day, to cut the video here, I truly, truly think Levan takes it. And I think a lot of people will be surprised, but I'm not going to be surprised. I will be surprised if I can see Devon win or win a couple matches. But yeah, I think I'm going to end the video there. I hope you guys didn't get too turned off or too triggered on this one. But if you guys enjoyed the video at all, or you have anything to say, or you have any other opinions, drop them in the comments below, and we'll end it there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please like the video if you found it informative, or you learned something, or you just enjoyed it overall. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.